over here.
Welcome back, everyone, to Master of the Universe podcast. Joey here with Gabe. I guess Gabe's just on the show now without asking, but he's always here now, so it's great. And, oh, look who it is. Chris?
Yo, yo, yo. See money in the house, homeboy.
The recently married Christopher J's back on episode 46. Chris, how's the married life, man? Gabe's dying to know. He said he wanted to ask, but he wanted me to ask for him. It's kind of weird, but
oh yeah.
I mean, Gabe knows about it. You know about it too, but Gabe knows about it too.
Ooh.
It's going good, man. It's all good, man. It's all good. Sweetie, what are you doing?
He's like, you just start hearing him snap. You just start snapping. Hey.
My grits failed.
This is like, I think the podcast is even better with her in the back, like just laughing at the stupid shit we're gonna say. I swear it's gonna be funny now. It's like I gotta watch my tongue. Watch your tongue, boy. So
go ahead and throw some of the girls that we talk about in these horror movies. If we hear anything shatter in the background, we know what happened.
Yeah.
She's all, I had enough.
I had enough.
Around.
It is horror podcast trash, fucking up your mind. All that shit. But Gabe, dude, anything new with you, dude? Before we get into Child's Play, motherfucking 2.
Oh man, one of my favorite franchises. Man, not much has been going on with me. Just
Your TikTok.
Just the typical stuff going on. I will go ahead and let you know there was one funny thing. If you haven't already known, on my Instagram and on my Instagram, and I ended up announcing that I have a TikTok now, and I've been go ahead and doing these interesting horror facts. Just these movies that I just love to watch and I enjoy, and I always end up finding up some cool little information. So I'll go ahead and just make these quick little TikToks to be like, hey guys, interesting horror fact number whatever, and I'll go ahead and spout out a interesting fact about it, just something pretty neat. Well, I did one recently on The Fly, with Jeff Goldblum. So I did that one, and man, I've been getting the views up on there, and it's already hit like about 16,000 views, and it's up to 18,000 now. So get this, so I'm looking through it, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. People like this stuff. That's pretty neat. And then I come across this one comment, and I'm like, oh, leave it to someone to always go ahead and nitpick, or the internet's notorious for spell checking. The whole time I've been putting.
I know a guy.
Yeah. That we all know that guy. Well, this guy decided to go ahead and comment.
He's on the podcast, by the way, but go ahead, keep on going.
Well, they got me for it. Well, I put interest. I've been putting interesting, but I've been misspelling it the whole damn time. And so I was like, well,
that's why you should have stuck to funny enough. No.
Well, I was gonna respond to something like kind of sarcastic, or just to be a little asshole or whatever. But I decided to change my mind. I was like, no, I don't want to start fires yet. Let's go ahead and see how far I can get with this. I was like, oh, you caught me on my mistake. Ha, ha, ha. But the whole damn time I've been putting, I misspelled interesting. I was like, how am I going to go ahead and spit horror facts, and then I'm going to misspell interesting?
They're like, interesting horror fact. He can't spell.
I'm gonna go ahead and call Chris's wife and tell her to go get pissed off for me.
Yeah.
Go ahead and smash him off
Just
the
attack his TikToks. Is that where you post? I know I've seen you post her like, oh, I got another interesting fact, but I don't know how to I don't know how you make them all badass, the little videos and that are on the stories, but I don't do any of that. It's like, hey, you're gonna get real, bare bones, just me playing guitar or something. That's as much graphics as you're gonna get, dude.
Well, no, that's pretty cool and all, but no, there's nothing special. I'm actually, like I said, I love all these horror movies. I have all these movies. There's probably a couple that I don't have. Like Siege of Chucky. It's a crap movie, so I don't have that one. So, but for all these other movies, I put it on and I'm just there with my phone. I record it, and then there's a little option does voiceover. So I just, just go ahead and just record my voice saying, "Hey guys, look at this. There's something interesting about this damn movie. Think you should know."
Yeah.
Nothing special, but there you go.
Yeah, no, badass, man. I gotta get TikTok. Everyone's been talking about it, but I don't have one. But I mean, let me see. Maybe when you get to 100,000, dude, maybe that'll get me to budge, And Chris.
There you go.
But so you didn't get to do Child's Play 1 with us, and we decided to do Child's Play 2. Yeah, no, I know. I actually watched Child's Play 1. I watched Child's Play 2, and then I watched 1, and then I watched Child's Play 2 again because that's how much free time I have, dude. Because I'm not married, and then I start winking at Chris, and I really I guess before we get into part 2, we'll spend a little bit of time to get your thoughts on part 1. Because I know you had said one of your favorite horror movies, or I know it's you said Child's Play is one of your favorite franchises, but what tell us about your thoughts on Child's Play 1, dude.
Oh, Child's Play 1, that was my nightmares. I kid you not, as a little kid, I watched this damn movie. I was thinking oh, it's gonna be another horror movie, just watching Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th and all these other ones. No. The whole idea of walking dolls is terrifying to me. Even though I'm an adult now, I still get creeped out about it. But I'm not I'm not chicken shit like I was when I was younger. Yeah. No, I kid you not. This thing.
Somebody put a doll in Gabe's house and see how he reacts and shit.
No, well, close enough. I kid you not. So there I am, all young and everything. I've seen Chucky already, and that thing freaks me the hell out. My parents end up taking me to you got these little carnivals, where you can win these big ass dolls. So I end up winning a huge ass Leonardo Ninja Turtle freaking stuffed animal, and I'm like, oh
no way.
Yeah, it was freaking huge. I mean, I kid you not, it's big as an 8-year-old. So I'm all enjoying this. I'm having a grand old time. I'm all sugared up and everything. We come home and, parents are like, hey man, we got things to do. You got to get ready for bed, go and do all this stuff. Oh, all right. So I go ahead, getting ready for bed, did everything I had to do. I put that damn Ninja Turtle in the corner of my room and turn off all the lights. I'm ready to go to bed. And then here I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch. I can't do this. I can't do this. So I grabbed it, picked it up, and I had to face him towards the wall. I didn't want that thing looking at me because it just reminded me of Chucky. I was thinking or Poltergeist if you want, the damn clown that comes out in Poltergeist. I could not stand the fact of this thing looking at me. So yeah, I would go ahead and face. During the day it was fine. Go ahead and turn it around and be like, yeah, Ninja Turtle, that's cool.
But just seeing him that big old motherfucker, at night, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, sitting there in the corner. But either way, Child's Play 1, it's a great movie. I watch it a million times. I still do, even today. You were saying that we were going to go ahead and end up reviewing part 2. And I was like, oh, yes, I got so excited because I love part 2. It's so great. I met, Andy Barclay. Well, the real person, not the character. So I met Andy Barclay.
Yeah, Alex Vincent.
Alex Vincent. Went ahead and met Christina Ellis, the Kyle. Yeah. I met her. Oh man, they are great people. They're so nice. They're so they're just they're really like very communicative. Like they like to communicate with their fans. They're really cool people, real down to earth. And man, it was just like such a treat just to go ahead and watch the movies, and then getting to meet those actors from like your favorite movies. It's fantastic. So yeah, just I've seen part 2. I got super excited, but watching part 1, it's so sad that I didn't get to review it with y'all. You know, I wish I could have, but you know, it is what it is. We'll go ahead and go on to part 2. It's another one of my favorites. So yeah, got me all hyped up.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to touch on it, like, you know, in the beginning here, just so you can, you know, kind of talk about it a little bit. Because, yeah, I mean, I put, like, okay, before I go into this film, I saw this one, I'll talk about it in a second. But when I put on part 1, just to kind of get a feel of the differences, I was like, man, part 1 is so fucking suspenseful. Like, once you go from part 2, which is like a slasher, fun, you know, good time and everything. But the first one, almost like, you know, the music is really like, you know, every time... and Chucky doesn't even do anything that you actually see him do shit till like probably like 40 minutes in or so. I didn't pay attention, but I kind of like knew it was quite a bit of time. And like just when they're at like Eddie Caputo or whatever's place, and like this just the whole suspense of like you know, the guy turns around and you hear like little, you know, or you see the point of view of Chucky. I was like, wow, dude, I forgot how good this movie is, because I was like, part 2 is always like my favorite of the franchise, but after watching part 1 again, I was like, wow, like, it's a real horror movie. So,
part 1 and part 2 were ahead of their time as far as like, however the fuck you will say it, but computerized graphics I mean, the impossibility of making a little fucking doll like that look so realistic, have the facials, you know, walk fast, all that stuff. It was amazing.
You know, I think one of the ideas for me personally that kind of makes that movie really scary is the fact that the whole thing is like revolving around this little boy, and due to the fact that, you know, I'm at a young age, I feel like I can relate to that little boy. I'm like, oh, he's doing all the same shit I would do. Like, I wouldn't know how to handle it, and I'm trying to explain to adults, my doll talks to me, and why aren't you all not believing this? Like, he's telling me to say or do things. And honestly, I kind of feel like I can relate to that, and I think that's what made it a little more scarier. Like you said, Joey, is that this character, you don't actually get to see actually do anything until like 40 minutes in, but just the idea that the trouble that this little boy is going through because of the doll that's scary all on its own, because I feel I can relate to that. And I think I would be in the same moods.
No, I love the first one. Like, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll just give our ratings for the first one again. But for me, after rewatching it, it's like a 10 out of 10 for like horror movie wise. Like for me personally, just like as a movie, like a 9 out of 10. But I thought it was fabulous, and like I said, I rewatched it because I wanted to get like the differences of the tones and shit, and like. Everything about that film is like really fucking good. Like the highlights for me, because I'm a dumbass, were like all the funny ass shit. It's like when Andy's mom's talking to him, and I forgot what's going on, but Andy's all like, Chuck, you know, no, but it was Chucky, and like he's like saying it like that, you know, and you're like, oh, like the way a little kid would really like 4 or 5 over old, he's supposed to be 6, would tell you, no, it was Chucky. So you're just like, oh, whatever, right? But then he goes, and Chucky said that Aunt Maggie got what she deserved because she's a real bitch. I was like, holy, she goes, why would you say that? It wasn't me, it was Chucky. And I was like, can you imagine hearing that from like your child or somebody else's kid? Telling, you know, your aunt or your sister or whatever, like, you know, passes away, tell them it was a real bitch. Like, what? Like, you would be so, like, it finally gets her to stop, like, agreeing with, okay, so, all right, son, you know, Chucky said this, like, hey, what's wrong with you? You know, like, it finally gets her to, like, you know, shut the fuck up, you know, and I enjoyed that. I was like, man, you know, and this happens in part 2, too, with other parts, but, y'all have any highlights of part 1, Chris?
Oh, my God. I mean, just fucking everything.
He's like, this drink's a highlight, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, I have I'm only on drink number 1, but the thing is like, that one just like the fucking like footprints on the fucking counter, and then the fucking like I love when he gets his mom. You fucking bitch! And he's like this little doll. He's hitting this grown woman.
Bitch. You wanna fuck with me? Chris all angry, throwing the Mark. Fuck you, Mark. Chris gets like that with Mark, but you have any highlights, dude?
Dude, like I think my favorite part of that whole damn movie, like that the whole there's so many damn scenes that are great, but one in particular, which is like so great, and it's just hard not to think about that movie, is the scene where he's all like, they're getting the gas started when he's in the fireplace, and Chucky's trapped in there. So Andy's like, he lights the match, and Chucky ends up like, "Hey, I thought we were friends to the end. Remember?"
Yeah.
He has that that last hero act where he's all, "This is the end, friend."
Yeah.
And then all that screaming from Chucky when he's on fire, I was like, wow. I was like, that is intense. It's kind of like that whole the hero throws a bomb and he walks away while it explodes behind him. He doesn't even have to watch it blow up. I kind of felt it was like one of those moments in this movie.
It's that slow motion swag walk when it slow motions the impact of the fire going up and everything, but the dude's walking away.
Yes, exactly, and I felt that's how intense it was. It was just that part will never go away from me. I love that part.
That you were like talking about that stuff, like like the way like Chucky manipulates Andy, like and he does it again in part 2. He's like, I was only playing, like the whole time. Like I love that they add that shit in there, because it's like Chucky, like he thinks he can just have that power over Andy, dude. Just fucking saying like he can just like, I was just fooling, like at the end of Tombstone or whatever the fuck. There's a few things on there, but yeah, I love the way Chucky kind of just fucks with him, and it's scary as hell when Chucky goes to like that whole little like where he's in the psychiatrist like area locked up, and he's like goes home and Chucky's like going after him, and like that was a part that I laughed. He's like, just leave it, when he's in the elevator, he's like, just leave it there, someone will come looking for it. He's like, that's an ugly doll. And he's like, fuck you. Like that old, like, doesn't Chucky kind of look like Chris, dude? Like, but when he gets more fucked up, not when he starts off. It's like when Chucky's had Chucky's been on a bender and shit for a couple of days and shit, the same hair, the same hair though, for sure.
It's funny how you're mentioning all the like about his looks, because like if you look at part 1, how he starts off in the beginning as a doll, but then as he slowly, like, you can see like that transformation going on as it's like going through the damn week. He's getting that receding hairline. He's looking a little more rough. And so coming in part 2 though, and this is like one of the things that's always kind of confused me about. He's always been in a rush trying to get the main character, because the whole idea is that he doesn't want to be trapped in the damn doll. He wants to get out. But I'm actually kind of curious, what is the time frame on him being trapped? Because in part 2, he actually, he met that deadline. He knew he was getting close. In one scene in part 2, he started bleeding from the nose. And then later on, you end up finding out he's all like, "Oh, I'm too late. I took too long. I fucked up."
Yeah.
Or pretty much, or he's more pissed off at the young boy. But I've always been curious about the time frame in that.
They don't elaborate on that
like,
time frame. Yeah, they don't elaborate on that time frame, but yeah, like Chucky has this sense of urgency to get out into a real human body, preferably a young male, so he can relive the life experience. But you're exactly right. They don't explain, I've got this amount of time before this happens.
Because like it seemed like it seemed like I don't know, in some movies it seemed like it only ran like maybe about a couple of days to maybe a week, in comparison to like some other ones. Like Part 2 honestly just seemed like it was probably like less than a whole week, probably.
For sure, less than a week, yeah. Now that you're mentioning it, like, yeah, it's a good thing. It's like, what is the cutoff time for it? Because in the first one, like, I like how, like you're saying, like, it actually, the actual doll looks different as the movie goes along to the end. You're like, wow, he's already all fucked up already. Compared to Part 2, they don't do that. I don't think they do that, because it didn't look like he looked any different, as much as Part 1 did, to where he looked like pale towards the end, like human skin, you know, like towards the end of the film. It was pretty fucked up. So that's cool shit, and I didn't realize that. But the thing that always stood out to me in Part 1, it's funny, is just that knife. It was like a kid's knife or whatever, or like, I don't know what it just had, like I mean, I know it wasn't a kid's knife, but like, was it a voodoo knife? Or you know the one I'm talking about?
Yes, it's supposed to be a voodoo knife by John, the voodoo guy from Part 1, who trained him or taught him those dark mystic arts of Damballa. That knife was a ritual knife. I couldn't say that right.
Yeah.
I even had to go as far as to even look that up to see if, like, what was the deal, you know, like all these magical words he kept saying. Because if you notice that none of those words actually, I didn't know if those words supposed to be like the same thing he was supposed to repeat, but they never come out the same. Like every time he starts saying those words, and I was like, I don't know if there's like an actual words to this. So I started looking that stuff up too, and apparently Damballa is actually like a mystic god or something like that, like some kind of demon snake god or something. But there is no like actual words for it.
Oh,
like that,
yeah.
So as far as like as the script goes, I think they're just kind of like, go ahead and just start off this way, and then just spout out whatever gibberish you want. Just make it sound cool, you know. And I think that's what they were doing.
Saying the word Dewey before Damballa.
Dewey,
Dewey, Damballa, or Damballa.
Well, they say it different. Like in the first one, like, yeah, Chucky says Dumbella, and then like you hear the little Dumballa in the later ones. Like they say Dumbella in the first ones, it is Dumballa in the other ones. Like I've always noticed that, because it was very like it stood out to me once Tiffany said it in Bride of Chucky, and she's all like, Dumballa. I'm like, that's not the fucking name, you know? And then I was like, oh, well, it's written that way, so that's probably why she's saying it like that. But yeah, it's the way Brad Dourif said Dumbella, then Dumballa. Right. Yeah, so I was like, okay, so.
You know, and I don't know. But either way, I mean, I think as long as they get their, I don't know if they have to say those exact words, but later on, as they came out with the more extra movies like Cult of Chucky, they came out with some real cheesy parts where like they found out like, oh, I found out there was voodoo for dummies. So he ends up finding out that he ended up using voodoo for dummies. He was able to split his soul into multiple dolls, which I was pretty impressed. Like I love that idea, and that blew my mind. But at the same time, I didn't like how they executed, where the whole Damballa thing was in a cheap ass book called Voodoo for Dummies.
Emotion
So, yeah, that was part one. I wanted to touch up on it, like I said, just before we got into. Does anybody have a fan on?
No, not me.
Is it you?
No. Nope. No
Mike?
fan here.
Let me see. I don't know. I guess it's your mic, Chris. It sounded loud. It sounded louder all of a sudden. Anyway, so 3, 2, 1. So let's go ahead and get into part 2, man. Fucking released in 1990. So 2 years after Child's Play 1. I'm glad we got to touch up on that one because it was great. But this is one of the very few sequels, dude, that it's like different, but it's like badass still. It's kind of like Terminator or Aliens come to mind, where it's not as suspenseful as the first one. It kind of does its own thing, but it's badass. But Chris, I'm gonna go with you because I know you've always been like a person that's been wanting to do Child's Play 2. Yeah, when are we gonna do Child's Play 2? We did part 1. When are we gonna do Child's Play 2?
Yep.
So tell us your history with part 2. You're like, I'm on a podcast right now.
It's the same thing with part 1. It's just a thing where like this was the one horror franchise I ever saw like in my later elementary and early middle school years because, like, as y'all know, I never saw any of the Freddy or any of the Jason shit or any of the Michael Myers shit. But this was on USA Network when you'd be home for spring break or when you'd be home for summer or whatever, and reliably at some point in time during one of those seasons, they would show this during the day or even at night. And I could pull off watching this shit, and I loved it. Like, this is horror. This is, like, what gets in your head. This is what makes you think, like, I got nervous about the fucking stuffed animals in my fucking bedroom because of this fucking movie. Like, they show I don't know if y'all remember this, that little toy they made, Mr. Bucket, where it's this bucket with 2 arms. And it spits out little plastic balls, and then you have to scoop them up and put them back in there before it spits out all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, me and this guy I was friends with, his name was Mike Blue. One of those twins I was telling you about. And we were joking around like, man, imagine that shit like fucking, like a horror movie, like that fucking Mr. Bucket, like, in the middle of the night goes in the kitchen, grabs a butcher knife, and stabs you while you're asleep, and I was like, oh, fuck. But this, I'm saying, this
something that spits balls out of his mouth, huh? It just seemed more perverted than it was scary.
You couldn't get away with that shit today with spitting balls out of your mouth. That type of innuendo shit. But back then, it was still early 90s. It was still kind of sort of wholesome. But yeah, no, this was the kind of horror that like made me think and maybe like, fuck yeah, man, this is what I'm finally getting away with watching horror when my parents aren't around.
Yeah, dude. This is the one for me. When I first saw this, I was like, fucking. Well, see, the thing is, like, when I saw, you know what? I saw all the covers. It was like I've talked about how there are certain covers that that I knew to stay away from. You know, they were just too scary growing up. I was real young, and when I saw like Chucky, I was afraid of dolls, right? Like Gabe. But when like fucking Chucky was like the probably the reason, just looking at those fucking covers, like seeing part 3 with him like bleeding from his mouth, part 2 when he's like about to chop off the Jack in the Box's head, and then the first one where he has that voodoo knife, and I was like, fuck all this shit, I'm already afraid of fucking dolls. I'm not gonna watch this. So it was like a while, and I'm pretty sure I watched part 2 first. Like you said, on TV, when they would always show shit like that, I was like, oh, this is a Chucky movie? And it was funny kind of going back now, because like I remember the TV version so well that like I know all the parts that they cut out because I saw it because I think I recorded it probably like on VHS or something. And what was one of them? There was like, he's like, bitch, I told you don't fuck with me or something like that when he's talking to what's her name, Skylar, and or Kyler, and like all these little things, like they completely edited the TV version back then. Like it was so ridiculous to hear like what a foul mouth Chucky had, compared to like he's like way worse than Freddy Krueger. Like Freddy says bitch like once or twice in the film, where like that's like Chucky's go-to word. You stupid bitch.
It's funny you say that because seeing the difference from watching like when I had rented it in comparison to watching it on television, there is a huge difference. Like, as you were mentioning this, like some of the scenes where the big head corporate boss ends up talking to the I guess the lawyer guy, I guess the lawyer corporate guy in the beginning, the first kill in part 2. They're all like, "Oh, sir," he ends up telling them, "Hey, sir, what do you want me to do with the doll?" Well, the big corporate boss ends up telling him, "Shove them up your ass." But on the TV version, he'll say, I remember it was like, "Shove it up your nose."
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He'll say, "Shove it up your nose." Now, some scenes though, I thought that was pretty cool. Like when Andy and Chucky are in the back of this newspaper van, this pickup truck. It's like a big old van, and they're driving off. So that way Chucky can get that alone time so he can transfer his soul into Andy's body. Well, who's right behind him is Kyle. So she's driving behind them and the door's open. They're sitting there in the back. Well, in the movie version, like if you saw it in theaters or rented it, he ends up like, she's all honking at the damn driver to pull over. Chucky's like looking at her and he's like, picks up his hand and just flicks her off. So I was like, oh man, this guy's a badass. He don't care. He just flicks her off. In the TV version, though, he's just there and he's just looking at her. And I'm like, oh, man, I felt I had a little bit of a different feel to it because he just looks like he's all sinister there.
Yeah. But he's just... That's the way they edited in the 90s, though. Like, I remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High when they showed that on a cable TV channel. They would, the part where he says, "You're a pussy, half wimp, half you're a wuss, half wimp, half pussy." Well, then in the TV version, in the TV channel version, he would say, "You're a wimp, half simp, half weakling." It's like they would fucking fuck it all.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, and how dated this is too. Can I just say, like, when the corporate lawyer damage control guy under the CEO, he goes to the liquor store because he just he's seen too much shit. He goes to the fucking liquor store, he tries to pay with a gold American Express. "Oh, we don't take credit cards here, pal." And it just shows, like, in 1990, credit cards were only for, like, big shit, but, like, by 1996, you can use a credit card anywhere.
Not here it ain't. Yeah. I started laughing at that, too. I was like that old Chris. Like, this is as good as cash. He's like, not here it ain't, because Chris doesn't carry around money all the time, and Mark always carries around money. And are you nuts? What are you nuts? All that shit. But yeah, we have like a good cast too. I mean, Andy Barclay returns as Alex, or Alex Vincent returns as Andy Barclay. We got Brad Dourif again, as the voice of Chucky. I know you don't know who they are yet, Chris, but you're gonna love them. We got the girl that plays Joanne, the mom or the stepmom or the foster mom. She came out in a real famous movie. Maybe you've heard of it, American Werewolf in London. Hello.
I have heard of that.
Yeah, her, and then the guy that plays
nurse, right?
Yeah, she's the nurse. It was funny because I saw her in this first because I didn't watch that movie till like a little bit later. I saw her in this first, and I was like, whatever, like a whatever character to me. And then I saw American Werewolf in London, and I was like, man, this chick's hot, in that film, That's a Ray impression for those of you wondering why I do that. But anyway, I was like, man, she's hot in that American Werewolf in London, so it makes me like her more now when you see like other horror like actors, like when you see him like in a really good role, and then you see him in another role, like I guess like the Invisible Man, and then you see him like play the Wolfman's dad in like the Universal films, Universal Monsters. Got Phil. How's it hanging, Phil? He's what movie was he from that I knew him for way before? It was was it Used Cars? Yeah, it was Used Cars. I think we saw it, Chris, when he's like shooting the fucking cars. He's all like, that price is just too damn high. So yeah, like when I first saw this film, I was like, who the fuck? Like, why did they pick these people? But like, now kind of having more filmography under my belt, I'm like, oh, these are really good choices, dude. So can we just say what kind of pieces of shit the foster parents play?
The mother was good. She was very caring. She could not have kids. She just wanted kids. But that dad, though, he was such an ass.
He was like the Chris of dads, right? He's like
Man,
this. It's today.
That's it.
And you're paying my HBO.
No, the thing with them is like, yeah, it's like she's a mom who can't have kids, like Gabe said, she can't have kids, wants to raise somebody, wants to take care of somebody, raise somebody, whatever. And then the dad is like, he's well off, whatever. He just is more than happy being a dink, double income, no kids.
That the dad though, he was just very. I think he was just very concerned. He wouldn't mind doing this because he clearly already adopted one, or he was trying to for her sake when he adopted Kyle, and then his wife wanted another one, so that's why they went after Andy. And I don't think he minded adopting him. It was just more the fact that he wanted to go ahead and adopt normal kids, not ones with problems. Like Kyle she's already been through so many foster homes. I think that was more of the mother's choice, and she already seen trouble. Now they go with Andy. He even already expressed in the beginning saying, "Are we even qualified to handle such a kid? Oh, well, he just needs love and care." And the dad was already concerned. He's like, I don't know. It seems like he's already having problems, and he might bring that stuff home. And I want to raise normal kids, someone I can play the baseball with, throw around the football or something. Do all the normal dad things, not deal with someone that already went through traumatizing murder and mom's getting locked up for being crazy about killer dolls and all that.
I liked how they spoke on that. They're like, oh, the mom got locked up and the police weren't helping out and everything. I was like, wow, that's fucked up. So they just put him in a foster home,
Right.
But
I was reading about it that was supposed to be the original opening for part 2, was that they were supposed to have there was supposed to be a court hearing about this whole situation, about how the cops are just keeping quiet, putting it under wraps, like no, we didn't see nothing, and the mom is full on believing like, no, the damn doll is actually alive, trying to convince them, and just makes her seem crazy. But for some odd reason, I'm not sure what it was, but they didn't go through with it. But they still ended up picking up that type of scene later on in The Curse of Chucky, though. They still ended up wanting to do that scene after all. But yeah, that was supposed to be the opening for part 2, but that didn't take, though.
Does anyone know why what's his name didn't show up? The cop, the Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night. What's his name? Chris Sarandon.
Chris Sarandon.
Yeah.
No, they just said that in the story they just said that the cops are keeping it under wraps. They're just keeping it hush hush. As far as the actor himself, that I'm not sure. I'm not sure why he did not want to show up for the sequel.
Okay. Yeah, because when I saw part 1, you kind of like forget. You just think about Chucky and Alex Vincent or Andy, and then I was like, oh, I forgot Chris Sarandon's in this motherfucker. Like, he's over as a son of a bitch, and then the mom's gone. I kind of figured, like, I mean, she was really good. Like, the way she plays it, like, she's very believable in the first one. But I mean, I'm fine with Kyle. I thought she's like that cool kid, like the old Christopher J when he got his second vehicle and he was the cool kid picking us up and shit. Right, Chris? And I wink at Chris.
That's right. For the time it lasts.
With the hat backwards, smoking. I was laughing about the smoking cigarettes scene, dude, because she's like, Kyle, and I'm like you wouldn't smell someone smoking a cigarette in your fucking house, you know what I mean? Like, it takes you to open up the fucking door to like, oh, you're smoking a cigarette. I'm like, man, when someone lights a cigarette, it's like halfway through, like you're gonna smell the fucking cigarettes. I was kind of like laughing at that bullshit. I was like, oh man, like.
Kyle had a good style going on with her. She had that leather hat, like you said, it was all backwards. And for 90s, during that time, being a rebel teen, that whole kind of, I guess that whole grunge type of, that whole kind of grunge era was kind of popping in at that moment.
This is pre-grunge, because this movie came out in November of 90.
Exactly. See, and I think that's when Alice in Chains and you had like other like little grungy bands coming out at that time with
Sonic Youth, Temple of the Dog.
There you go. And see that I think she fit like a good role. She was also not that it's horror, but she was very popular for the 90210 series. So she kind of had like a little. She had like a whole little style and stuff like that for that era, and I think she fit very well for this movie, playing the good rebel teen, anyways.
Yeah, no, for sure. Before I forget, because like well, not before I forget, but we'll jump to it now. When I put this movie on, like the whole movie's pretty like badass, but I love the way it starts off. Like it sets the tone with that one jackass that's like talking about the good guy doll, and there with I mean, what's going on? I mean, I'm sure Gabe's done his homework. I hope he's done his homework, because I watched it a few times, and I was kind of confused because it's like he's there like trying to sell that, hey, we need to get on this good guy gimmick, and he's talking to his boss, and then that whole catastrophe where it ends up the good guy comes to life, or they're scraping off the the shit on the head. He's like, we're not used to making them from scratch or whatever manually, and he ends up getting killed, and he's like, clean this shit up, and as for everyone on the board or whatever, we're done. But like when we go fast forward to the end, like they have the whole factory just like rebuilding a bunch of good guys. I'm like, did I miss something? I mean, are they not gonna make the good guys? Are they making the good guys? I mean, what was the whole point of the meeting? If there are like, yeah, go ahead, dude. But I was confused.
No, I got you. Well, one of the ideas, like one of the tidbits that I was reading about this damn movie was that this was supposed to take place during Christmas time. So the main reason for all the damn dolls is that they were getting ready for shipment. That spread out throughout the whole holiday time. It was just ever since like part one had happened. This is like already a good time jump. He's already like a little bit older. That CEO lawyer guy ended up explaining, saying, look, we went ahead and we got a hold of the cops are keeping hush-hush. They're keeping quiet about this whole thing. We ended up getting a hold of the doll. Everyone's already kind of about it. We thought, there was a rumor going around that maybe one of the workers said or did something to the recording tape of the doll. And so then the big corporate boss is like, okay, well, my stomach's upset. How is this good news? What's so great about that? Well, the good news is that we have the doll now, and we're fully inspected it, and we found nothing. There's no traces. Everyone's already forgot about the mom. No one really cares about what's going on with the little boy. It's all a thing of the past. We can I think he said something about like they're trying to get their licensing back, or they're trying to do something with the doll so that way they can put the product back on board. Now that everyone's already forgotten about the little tragedy, now they can go ahead and start selling it again. Because from the part one, that was their big market. That was their Transformers. That was their Ninja Turtles. That was their X-Men. That was the big product that all the kids wanted. And of course, with that big factory all filled up, again, it makes sense that if it would have been during Christmas time, they would have overloaded with all this, and if that whole deal would have went through, then shipment could have already went out, and they would have already started selling a whole bunch of it. But in this case, that this is, it is what it is. I mean, this that's how I can make sense of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just getting ready for a big shipment, because this toy, I mean, there's a good reason why they're wanting to come back, to it. If this thing had a bad tragedy and it was just doing mediocre, they would have just left it alone. They would be like, you know what, that whole deal is dead. That toy market, we can't make any money from this. Forget it. But that company, was it Play Toys? They said, they're all like, no, we need to go back to that, because that was our big money maker. That was our iPhone. This thing made money. So we have the doll. We inspected it.
That was their
It's
purse,
good.
dude. Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, that's how I'm taking this whole thing, and why they have so much product, especially all holding in their warehouse, because towards the end, these characters are running around and they're all lost in a maze of damn Chucky dolls all over the place.
Just no more places, what barren words.
Part in this film, or like little section, is the Miss Kettlewells. Miss Kettlewell, dude, when they're in the fucking school, I swear, I saw it 2 different times, like I told y'all, and I fucking laughed both times when like we like that whole scene is just like I love it, dude. When he's like, he goes to school, right, and you got this fucking teacher just like, oh, I'm a real boy. I think she's reading Pinocchio or something, right? Or some shit. And the kid behind Andy, like, flicks his ear, and he's all like, take a hike, microchip, or some stupid shit like that. And she's all like, Andy, like, something I don't know what the fuck she says, but it's just like, why wouldn't you, like, acknowledge this kid that's like, he's a new kid, like, you think he's just yelling out, hey, what are you doing, And she's all like, you would think you try to be getting on my good side, all this bullshit. And I'm like, I already hate this bitch. And I started laughing because, like, right before that scene, you see Chucky going like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You're like, what are we? He's like, ah. And then she's going through the papers, and you're like, oh, that's what Chucky was doing. And you see, fuck you, bitch. Oh my god! I saw that writing. Like, it's funny because her reaction is that she sees it and she looks up and you just see like the name. It's like Andy B, and like it's just fucking. I just fucking laughed. I saw it 2 different times, and my reaction for both times was like a slow laugh.
It was very hilarious. I love that. He's just big ass crayon.
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, like I don't even know
and
what.
He's all playing with the basketball ball outside. He's all having fun, and this one's writing shit on the damn his paper.
Yeah, it's like I forgot what the paper said. It was like color in the firefighter's hat, and then which one is this or whatever. It's like fuck you, bitch. I was fucking laughing. Chris, you still there, pal? You working like a sumbitch, or what's going on?
No, man. I mean, like, you guys are kind of just doing it, so.
He's like, y'all got it taken care of. I mean, I watched it. I mean, I know it.
No, I don't want to interrupt. So okay. I mean, no. The thing is like, yeah, it's the worst of both worlds, because on the one hand you've got. It's like the Bugs Bunny cartoons or like the Bobby's World cartoons, where like there's a heel. It's a different kind of heel. It's just the heel that's manipulating it, where you're getting in trouble for things you didn't do. And then on the other hand, you've also got the element of horror, supernatural horror, in this fucking little doll. But he's also got the ability to like hide and make it look like you're the one doing shithead things. Like it's just heat all around.
It's just heat all around, huh? Okay. I'm not going to tell you Chucky's in the fireplace again, but okay.
I mean, for this damn doll being such a... It's not even so much the doll itself. Remember, this is Charles Lee Ray. He's a psychopathic killer, trapped inside the doll. So this doll has, like, the mentality. He's supposed to be, like, just flat out crazy. He's like, nuts. He's, like, killing people. He knows voodoo. I mean, seriously. And then for him to, it's just crazy, like how he can manipulate, like how Chris is saying, he's able to sneak around. He's doing all this.
Yeah.
Usually, I don't think like a psychopathic killer can maneuver around that well. But that it just seems a little. It seems like he should be making some type of mistakes somewhere along the line where he would be caught. Yeah. But, especially like in the teacher scene, the damn teacher just ridiculous because it pisses me off because I think we've all had that damn teacher who was just a plain out ass, and well, I think Chucky did Andy right by just killing her ass off.
He's like, you've been very naughty, Miss Kettlewell. He's got a ruler.
I love that fucking voice of Chucky too. Is like he's got the bear spins. Switching to Geico can save you hundreds of dollars on car insurance. Is that a top engraver?
I love his laugh, dude. Like the whole like Chucky wouldn't be Chucky without Brad Dourif's like over ass voice. It's and it's funny because that's just the way he is, though. Like when you hear like and some actors, or voices like those are the best ones, like. And like I noticed it when you watch the beginning of part 1, he's all like, "I'm gonna get you, and Eddie, no matter what." He's like doing his like Chucky voice and yelling, and I was like, "That's Chucky, like the angriest motherfucker," and he's got that same tone. He doesn't really have to manipulate his voice. That's just how he talks when he's like, throwing more gimmicks out there, and that's like in his laugh too. He's like, whatever the fuck, And I was like, man, this is like that's what makes it so entertaining, like his tone and everything. Just him, like when he gets Phil and Phil's like, I was laughing at that part where Andy's like got that like what is it? It's like a turkey cutter, but it's like what do they call an electric knife?
An electric knife. We had that shit for every year for Thanksgiving. That's how we carved our turkey.
Yeah, and like Phil's like, okay, just put the knife down. He's all like, but Chucky, put the knife down, and he's like, and then he gets hooked and he goes, how's it hanging, Phil? But it's just like perfect, like where he knows how to like oversell, just play it straight, just whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like that's what makes like these films so good is Brad Dourif, man. It's like amazing.
He's even better than Freddy. Like Freddy has some good one-liners for when he's about to kill somebody, but this guy's he's just more laid back. Like he's not trying. Like Freddy's good, but he's trying. Like this Brad Dourif, this Chucky is just even better.
Yeah, Brad's he might be the best voice for any character. I don't know. It's hard to say because I mean Freddy's got a few of them, but I mean consistently, yeah, Chucky gets his ass over. Do you have any you have any horse in the race there, Gabe, with
oh man,
Freddy?
I think you guys are right. Brad Dourif is just a character all on his own. And, well, with Freddy has like a good couple of one-liners. It just this is more so he's all. I think like Freddy versus Jason. Not going for the older stuff, but that Freddy versus Jason, he had like a cool one-liner where he goes like, time to put this bad dog to sleep, and he's like kicking ass with Jason. He's whooping his butt. Brad Dourif though, he definitely has like some good. He has some good little liners here and there. Nothing that really comes to mind. It's just more so like it's just the way he acts and the way he talks. It's just so.
Yeah, it's not just a line. It's just the whole performance, right? It's not like, oh well, because Freddy. I mean, like whenever Freddy says something, it's memorable. Welcome to prime time, bitch. Like you said, there's like that. Right. You think about bitch, you say, well, you stupid bitch, you stupid fuck. Yeah, I teach you to fuck with me. It's not really like you can't really like do that performance. The same way that Freddy is.
It's full emotion.
Yeah, and that's all. That's the way. That's the thing with all of Chucky's things. Like we have jumping ahead. Like when he like in the beginning of part 3, he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm from Rhode Island. He's like doing that gimmick, and it's like it's just like
that's not Rhode Island. That's Chicago, Detroit, Wisconsin.
Okay, saying now, talk about the movie then. Talk about the movie when you're doing comparisons, but you're not talking about the movie, dude. I am talking about the movie.
No, say, and then I'm just.
Chris has been talking about grunge. He's been talking about Chicago, but he hasn't been like, oh, this part of this movie. And he's like, that's from Chicago. That's all I remember.
I think the thing
doesn't it take place in Chicago? The whole the film.
Yes.
Okay.
But the thing that sticks out to me is there's so many opportunities in this movie where someone should have just fucking burned fucking Chucky, and they don't. They he's always getting thrown to another place where he can come right back and just start causing fucking havoc again. And like if his dad is as strict as he, and I remember like dads that were like this guy, so strict back in like the late 80s, early 90s. Like
I know a guy.
Yeah, and it's just like you should have fucking burned him or thrown him in a dumpster where like it would be really hard for him to get back. And they don't. They just throw him in the fucking basement. There's all these things where
I kind of feel like that, like for I'm not sure if this is like the right answer for that, but if you look at the type of neighborhood, because I've known people too that were like that. If there was a problem with something, their idea is to break it down, burn it, trash it, throw it under the damn lawnmower, cut it up, just to show like I'm so much of a badass. I'm gonna shoot it. They'll bring out their gun or something.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, they're in Chicago. Look at the neighborhood they're living in. It's such a cookie cutter, typical, suburban neighborhood. These kids all look like they're generic, like, hey, neighbor, let's all cut our lawn at the same time. It's so generic, and the only off things about this whole thing in that area is just Kyle and that boy. The fact that they're adopted, and they even have their own little school bully. Like if you look at all the little kids, I mean, they're all cookie cutter kids. They
I didn't see one black kid in this motherfucking movie. That's all I gotta say.
Damn straight.
I'm gonna come out and fucking say it. Yeah.
So,
there wasn't one shootout unless Chucky was involved. I'm not buying it.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Like Gabe was saying, is this is suburbia Chicago. This isn't even inner city Chicago where you're taking the L train and all that shit. No, this is like the suburbs, outer, away from the city, and it's these upper middle class, maybe upper income people, and the fucking antique artifacts and all this shit that can't get broken, and all this shit. And it's like this poor fucking kid. Your heart's going up this whole time because he's getting blamed for all these antiques getting broken. He's getting his ear flicked by the dumbass dipshit kid sitting behind him. His bitch teacher is like just breaking his balls for everything. And
her name is Miss Kettlewell, so you better get it straight, son.
And meanwhile, he's being haunted by this fucking doll that he thought he got away from that's infused with the spirit of a dead guy who practiced fucking voodoo. And what the fuck kind of white trash fucking Sebastian Bach, John Waite looking motherfucker from Chicago practices African voodoo? I want to know that.
Well, this guy was already like a...
What's Chicago? That's the only black guy, and he's a voodoo guy.
I mean, that was probably his drug dealer at one point, and just, I don't know, they knew a guy.
I didn't think about that. Like, that's the black guy that shows up, right? It's like the voodoo man.
Oh, that's right. In part one, he was friends with that Jamaican guy that, like, sold him the drugs, right?
Yeah.
I guess yeah.
I guess he was selling them drugs or something, but
Chris right away is like painting him as the bad guy. He's a drug dealer. He's black.
There was a black Jamaican or African guy in part one that like he had known or some shit, right?
No, that was just the guy that taught him voodoo. He's all like, that's what John. He's like, hey John, hi, it's me, Chucky, and he's all like, what do you think? He's all like, you've done everything I taught you, but Chris, like, he sells drugs. He's like right. He's a voodoo guy. That was my thing. Yeah, that was my thing. That was my thing. I was like, well, yeah, there is one black guy, but he's the only voodoo guy. Chris, like, the drug dealer, right? He's like, oh, they're trashing him. It's fucking.
Well, I mean, I guess you could. Well, I don't know if they're drug dealers, but what was it? Eddie Caputo.
Yeah. Right.
That was his buddy. And their little 3-ring circus people, I don't know, I guess they knew. And later on in the movies, I think in Cult of Chucky or Curse of Chucky, it's in Curse of Chucky, they start giving a little more background, but they don't explain how he meets up with John or why. They just show that he's related to, or he knows like certain people in certain areas, but he doesn't really say like why he starts getting into that whole mysticism, voodoo stuff. It just, I'm just assuming maybe he was in Chicago with drug dealers.
I'd like an explanation on that because, like, yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've only seen through part 3, and that's it. Like, anything after part 3, I have not seen other than that stupid-ass 2017 Netflix thing that they made, and that's it.
Yeah, on part 3, they don't even give any more background. It's more what makes this movie part 2 really great is just we got the whole mystery trying to figure out like, oh, what's Chucky gonna look like moving around? And finally, we start seeing how crazy he is, like already halfway or almost towards the end of the movie. Part 2, our minds were already blown that he's walking around. So part 2 is just like, hey, why don't we just jump into it? No more mystery. Let's just have the damn doll walk around already. So we'll just continue the chase because that's all he really wants now. It's just the only person that knows his secret is Andy. He wants to be him. Well, now he's like an 8-year-old kid again. So now they're just kind of jumping into that. At this point, they don't really care about his history. They just care about the fact that, this is the chase. We're doing it. Is he going to get him? Yes or no? I think one of the things that kind of a little tidbit that bothered me, if you all noticed, like in the beginning, remember they were shaving him down and they were putting him back together. Yeah. They put him back together. He comes back alive. He's walking. He comes back alive. All of a sudden, he's alive again. So it seems like if he gets torn apart, if you put him back together, he should just be able to come back alive again. Maybe a little electricity or something. But if you notice on Bride of Chucky, sorry, Chris. Spoiler alert. But they put him back together again. But he doesn't come alive. They end up using some kind of voodoo spell just to bring him back to life. He doesn't come back alive just by sewing him back together, which
and not of his own power. Like he is reliant on other forces to revive him.
Right, and so I think just the electricity.
It's like Frankenstein and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little Frankenstein, character, just running around. But he's crafty, some bitch.
But can I say something too? Can I say something too? Like, one thing I noticed, and I noticed this a couple nights ago when I was rewatching it. Like, I don't get why Chucky is so like watching and like paranoid about like where he buries the other doll under that swing, and he's watching that, and he's so worried about that. Now, when Kyle throws the real Chucky in the trash, I get that you'd be mad that you got thrown in the trash. But he really seems to bother him that people could find out about this other doll buried in the ground under the swing.
You don't know why he was worried about that?
Explain to me.
Well, if there's 2 fucking Chucky dolls, where did the other one come from?
No, I know, but here he's mad about it again, and both the parents are already dead. So why is he worried about it after the parents are dead?
He didn't want Kyle to find out. He didn't want Kyle to find out because that's just it. Because if she knew that there was 2 damn dolls in the damn house, and she found out about it, the more people that know about him or know that there's kind of trouble, it's just more stipulations coming in his way to where it's just making it that much harder to get to Andy. Everyone that he's been coming across, he's been having to kill just so he can get to Andy, so he's gonna be like, oh, okay, there's no more issues. Because remember, he had Andy tied up, but then who got in the way? Kyle got in the way. But luckily, she didn't know anything about it. But now it's starting to raise a lot of stipulation. He's starting to see that there was a lot of problems with the foster parents. He couldn't quite get around them. He either grounded them or they were constantly around, always checking up on him. He had no choice. He had to off them off. Just kill them all off. And, same thing. He thought, like, okay, they took Andy away. All he has to do is just get to Andy. But at this point, with Kyle, if she ended up finding out that, there was another damn doll, now she's, like, starting to be suspicious. And now he's like, oh, God dang it. Now I got to deal with somebody else to get in my way. And so what happened, she found out, and sure enough, she goes ahead and she's walking around the damn house with a knife, and here's Chucky. He's like, okay, well, I have no choice. I'm gonna have to kill her too. He just has like this obsession where like little stipulations that get in his way, he has to kill them.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that, except like to me, and I get that like you want to deal with as little as possible, but to me it's only an issue when the foster parents are in the picture. Once they're both gone, like what are you worried about Kyle for? She's nobody. You can control her, same as you control Andy.
No way, Kyle's like 17. What the fuck?
Well, he did control her though. He got her in the car, got her driving around, got her doing everything.
Well, because that's when he like had to jump on her with a fucking knife to her throat. Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty crafty with that. I get what Chris is saying though. Chris is saying like, you know, a young girl like that shouldn't, you know, she's a teenager, she's a rebel, she should be out sneaking out the window again, you know, without having to worry about the parents. But at this point, you know, when she found out about the second doll,
She goes back in the house, right?
Yeah, she goes back to the house, and that's pretty much sticking her nose in the business of Chucky, where she shouldn't be doing. She should be.
Well, but I mean, on the opposite end of that, what's she gonna? Hey, there's a doll killing people, and then like, you know. Like, yeah, the smart thing. I mean, you know, what I would have done, be like, fuck all this. But where is she gonna go? She's a foster kid. She's got, you know, a troubled past. You know, my foster brother just got taken away because the dad's dead. You know, because of the fucking doll. But I'm over here. I threw a doll in the trash can. Now he's got, like, I mean, what sense does that make too? You know. What choice does she have at that point other than to, you know, go in there and see what's going on? And she doesn't know that Joanne, you know, Chucky already went after her. So it's like, well, yeah, I mean, Chucky should be worried because he doesn't want fucking her to, you know, call him out. At the same time, she, you know, like it's a bad situation for everyone, you know. So,
you know. I think it was kind of a good thing that she did stick her nose in his business, because if you think about the kind of route that what would have happened if she would have just ignored it and say Chucky said like, okay, I already killed the parents, I'm not going to do anything else. That's it. I'm just gonna leave and just go straight after Andy. You know, and say, you know, didn't she say she had a boyfriend or she had a date? I mean, she could have been talking with her boyfriend or something.
Yeah, she did.
Goofing her off with him or something, and until finally the murders come about, then she goes ahead and calls the police. It would have left her in a bad situation due to the fact that you were the only one there with the parents. You know, the parents are dead, so that would have left her in a bad situation. It would have made it look like she,
because she's sick.
Killed him.
Yeah, because I mean, like, well, you're going off of somebody's word, and you got 2 dead bodies there. You know, so it's like, okay.
And therein, I think you pinpointed, therein lies the problem is, okay, if his whole thing is he wants as little impediment as possible, go directly to Andy, just always be fucking with him and getting him to do what you want to do, and Kyle could be in the way, but the thing is, the movie didn't make you feel like he was so close to offing Kyle and then going directly to Andy again and fucking with him again. Like, it should have left you more at a precipice moment, where he's so close, and then there's just that little thing she does that keeps her alive, and then she can just be in the car with him. But like, I don't feel like it got to that. Like she fights him off, but then they get in the car and they're driving, and he makes her speed and stuff like that. And the cops pull her over, and the cops give her a warning, let her go. Like, it didn't feel like that precipice, like barely survives kind of moment.
I think at this point, the whole point of the movie, it's just about the chase after Andy, but not to make it seem so dull, because since the beginning, the doll's already alive and walking around, you know, so there's no mystery throughout the whole movie anymore. It's just we want to see Chucky do stuff now. So the whole movie now is just, you got to throw some kills in there. You got to add some excitement. There is no last minute stretch like they did with Kyle, like you said, was speeding. She had a chance to get away, but she attempted to try to take care of him, like ramming him with the car, and like, okay, I think I got him, but then they get back in the same situation, didn't really go anywhere. It's just, I kind of feel they just wanted to add a little more excitement. Adding those deaths like Phil and Joanne, the foster parents, I think those were just extra kills. Same thing with the I guess the head foster mother, I guess, of the foster home. Same thing when they killed her and they threw her ass on the photocopier, and she gets stabbed and everything. So I think these are just extra kills just to kind of... It's a horror movie. We need to see some killing from this doll, not just blaming and pointing fingers throughout the whole thing and chasing. I mean, yeah, the chasing is cool and all, but I think we need a little bit of excitement in there. So then again, he is a psychopathic killer. He needs to kill.
Yeah, so, that's his thing, is that he gets off.
I mean, he's not going to... Yeah, I mean, this is what gives him a hard-on, he needs to kill.
When someone surprises you with a free Domino's, dude, you're just like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the thing is, like, okay, so it's partially believable that Kyle would go back in the house looking for stuff, When again, like you said, she's a troubled teen and she's bouncing around from foster home to foster home.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What is she gonna go to? Go to the cops? I mean, the cops were, the cops were just there. Oh my God, it's true. They're okay, lady. It's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back into the house, but I mean, I wouldn't, like, what are you gonna? You just be homeless now,
No, but it's just assumed belief.
She's gonna sleep in the backyard because he's alive.
Well, this is 1990. So 1990, so it's just as easily believable she goes to a payphone with a quarter, calls her boyfriend, and gets picked up and does whatever the fuck for the rest of her life. But at the same time, okay, so I got no problem with that. She goes back in the house. She goes looking around all that
Are you saying that before someone does, something dumb, they should, like, think about all their options?
No, it's just like I would.
You're not saying that.
No, I would believe she do that, but okay, I believe that she'll go back to the house and look around. That's fine, but then I just feel like the struggle fight scene she has with Chucky, it doesn't get you that precipice moment where she barely survives and barely somehow fights it off. I felt like it was too easy of a struggle with her,
Well, she was 17. She's 17 years old. She doesn't exactly come across as like
Chris wants like a Scarface type like action scene, where she's selling, he's selling, and it's like it's Chucky, and we're on the sequel, and he's like, I didn't believe it, but
I mean, I think at this point Chucky's already like having one step ahead of her. Like at the
Chris,
moment, like
Chris, did you know we're watching a Child's Play movie, or were you looking for believability? I mean, what kind of film did you think we were watching?
No, I'm looking for a scene where he's really, really got her like, oh, she can't come back from this, and somehow, some way she gets out of it, but then he gets back up to her again. That's what I'm thinking.
It's a Chucky movie. Like if we use,
I think if you want to go for something that's not so believable, you have to be focusing on Andy. The things that kid is going through is ridiculous for him to survive this long and even get to the point where Chucky finally succeeds, where he gets them all alone and he says, okay, we're going to play this game called Hide the Soul. Let's do this. So he says the magic words, thunderstorms are brewing. There goes the thunder and the lightning. It's happening. This is it. Oh, I took too long. Do you believe the amount of luck that is happening?
Yeah.
He's just like, man, I'm having a damn good day, Shit.
I love that whole ending thing.
The doll factory scenes were excellent. I thought it was excellent. I thought they did that great. I'm only talking about in the house with Kyle, but once you get to the doll factory, I thought that was done very well, and I love that. And like to this day, I still remember.
To this day.
to this day, I still remember the air tube going in his mouth, and even after he's like,
he takes a good ass whooping, man. He's like you and me with ex girlfriends, dude. Jesus Christ, we're resilient as a motherfucker. He comes back from what? Do you remember exactly in order, Gabe? I know he goes there. He's like, I fucking love everything that he says in that whole ending. Like, I'm gonna be jumping around, but he's like, no, I'm too late or whatever the fuck. But after all that bullshit, he's all like, you know what I'm gonna do to you, Andy? I'm gonna chop your legs off too. I started laughing.
I love that part too, man.
He's like dragging on this little thing, and he's got like a knife. You know what I'm gonna do? Like, and that's that Brad Dourif that he's really fucking angry.
I shit you not, man. I kid you not. Like throughout this whole thing, like right there in the beginning, like he does the whole spell thing, it doesn't work, and he's like all pissed off. Kyle's at the top of this stack of Chucky dolls, and she pushes them all on him. You hear him, what the hell? And they
what the
on him. Oh, I kid you not. This was so intense.
Yeah.
It was so intense. He goes ahead and he busts through all those boxes, and he's just yelling.
That's right.
Oh man, that was intense.
Like he's in a like Lord of the Rings battle, right? He's just like yelling and shit.
Yeah, it was just that epic, and I was like, oh my god, this guy is pissed. Now they have a reason to run because this guy is just overall.
Yeah.
And this whole damn warehouse, come to think of it, this whole damn warehouse should have cameras. What the hell? They're not keeping track of, like...
Can you imagine how badass Part 3 would have been if they would have? Like, they're like, there's the doll, there's some... Like, I don't know how, I mean, just you saying that, it's like, can you... That's a really, really good idea that they actually capture that battle on scene. They capture that battle on camera, and then, like, they're like, oh, shit, they work off of that. Because, like... They melt, he gets thrown into the fucking, gimmick, and he gets like the arms and legs punched through him, and he gets ripped in half, and then he gets melted, and he's got the knife in the hand, I mean, like, and then blown up. I mean, Chucky takes an ass whooping, dude. That's a hardcore match.
Beyond an ass whooping.
Man, he's chasing after Andy with that damn knife, and then he gets his hand stuck on that gate that.
Yes. That's
so he rips his own hand off. And he's like, oh shit, well, I have this knife. Well, bread and butter, life gives you lemonade, lemons and all that.
And then when he puts his hand in the knife, dude, when he, like you said, like he gimmicks his own hand. Oh my god. And he tapes it? He forgot the duct tape?
But after he's done and he duct tapes it, the coolest part was he looks at it like, oh, I hate kids. He's all so satisfied about it.
I hate kids. That's right, dude. Like, everything about that ending scene is just like, I know we just watched Mortal Kombat, it was a great film, but man, Chucky knows how to put on a fucking performance, dude. Now that's a motherfucker that can sell, dude. Yeah. That motherfucker just when you thought it was over, he keeps on. He's like, hey, Andy, I was only playing. When he's going back up that, like, rotary girder gimmick bullshit, whatever the fuck it is. And he's fucking, like, he goes in there and he's like, ah, you hear him getting, like, the shit.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, though. Like, seriously, like, through this whole thing, I would have been kind of panicking, and I would have probably just been knocking boxes over until I found like some kind of way out or something. I would have been knocking all these stacks over at some point or another, just to make a damn mess. But I don't know, what would you all have done if you were stuck in that damn maze? Would you have been like yelling the whole time, like trying to get someone's attention? Because remember, there's a security guard there, and there was a technician there that ends up trying to fix the damn machine that ends up getting out of place there.
Yeah, it gets the eyes bunched, smashing his head. I would have ran out. I would have scraped. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. It's my bad.
I would have been yelling, but at the same time, like, what are you really going to do? Like, at the same time, you can yell how quick is a security guard can get to you, and at the same time, if you run through these dolls, what are you going to run into when you run past the doll box? Like, they're going through a maze, and I sympathize with them. Like, you don't know where you're going, or you're just trying to get out however the fuck you got to get out, and I sympathize with them. But what I remember from being like, 11, 12 years old watching this, is seeing like he's got fucking little fucking Andy on the ground. He's got his eyes closed, and he's got the knife in hand, and the clouds are converging over this factory. And then something happens, and the clouds disappear, and they move back. And he looks again, and he tries to get the spell going again, and it's just the clouds. They show you this. I love that they show you this from outside the factory. The clouds don't come back.
Yeah. Actually, come to think of it, you know what would have been a cool idea? Say you're lost in that maze and you're having trouble getting out. You know what you could have done if you were in Kyle's case? Remember, Kyle was a smoker? Shouldn't she have a damn lighter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
why didn't she just set the whole place on fire? I'm like, you know what? Fuck this place. I need to get someone's damn attention. Oh, then again, in case if Chucky decides to run away, damn police officers come and get her and lock her ass up, charging her for millions.
And it's not like she's a 29-year-old black guy with a sweatshirt on who gets approached by a customs agent, and says, "How does a black man like me get in here and has a match? It's got to be a match, for Christ's sake."
Only Chris.
Beverly Hills Cop reference. Anyway, so and when they go up this roller pin thing, you know why this stuff got to be back.
That's what I gotta work. That's what I gotta work with, kid.
When I was a kid, and now like this roller pin thing that they're climbing up, it stuck with me because I had a friend who was my brother's age, and we were at this church one time for like a Boy Scouts thing, and these dumbasses were doing this thing where there was a slide like that that had those roller pins like that, and they were being dumbasses climbing up it, and one of them, his name was Thomas DeVries, he climbed up it and slipped and chipped his front tooth on the thing. And he had these like super strict German parents that were like fucking hardcore strict about everything. I was like, oh shit, he's never gonna hear the end of this.
Okay, that's a great Child's Play reference. I knew a guy with red hair. That's it. That's the Child's Play 2 review. Anyway,
my aunt had a doll looked like
I'm
fucking
telling
Chucky.
you, you think I'm kidding? There he goes. Go ahead. Tell the Child's Play 2 doll.
No, the doll from it was a 70s thing. Had the overalls, had the red shirt, same hair, everything. And I just remember when they would show Child's Play on USA, I'm like, fuck, how the fuck did she get this doll?
Anyway, before Chris takes over, you know what's kind of sad on this film, because I watched it a few times, is when they're leaving, when they're fucking leaving the factory, and she's like, "Let's go home, Andy," and he's like, "Where's home?" He's like, whatever the fuck, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know," and I'm like, man, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, it's like because they can't go back because there's like dead bodies, and you can only imagine what's going to end up happening. They'll get thrown back into the whole foster thing. I think they kind of had it planned out, I think as kids they don't know what to do, and they just kind of they kind of figure out what the adults would do, throw them back into the system, charge them for murder, who knows what. So I think their whole idea is let's just kind of wander off, and then we'll just play it by ear. I bet you anything she called that boyfriend up, or she called one of her friends.
Yeah.
Just so, she did say she had to work. Do y'all remember?
She's like, that's 3 nights in a row. He's like, well, I'm gonna be on my own soon,
Yeah, but right. So she has a good stack of money, so they can survive until she gets a part-time job. But they're gonna track them down. But them being kids, they don't know any better.
Oh, they do. In part 3, spoiler alert for those listening, part 3 he ends up in a fucking military school, but the thing is, it's a cold ending. It's just them walking out of the factory not knowing exactly what they're going to do or where they're going to go. It's not an elaborate ending, but the thing is,
That was the most crazy ass ending of all time. It's like they had to end it on, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's it. That's how they end it. It's not an elaborative ending. It's just them out of harm's way. They're walking out of the factory, and that's it. And then we know because we've seen part 3 where it goes. But it's that was a little bit of a disappointment.
You know, if you stop to think about it, through not just Child's Play 2, like on that ending, but there's like so many other horror movies out there that kind of leave you like in that kind of awkward feeling where, okay, we beat the bad guy, we trapped the devil, we beat Pinhead. Okay, what do we do now? I don't know.
Yeah.
Our whole goal right here was just to survive. So we did. So, yeah, well, we can't tell the police about it. They're going to think we're stupid or crazy. You know, we killed Freddy Krueger, you know, or we killed Jason. These characters were blah, blah, blah. No, they ain't going to believe that. How do you explain some kind of paranormal activity, especially with this, like, in a situation like this with the damn doll? How do you explain about things like this without no proof, saying, like, you know, and also come to think of it, they killed Chucky, and there was all that blood. You would think, like, forensics or somebody would come in and start wanting to test that blood. It has to be Charles Lee Ray's blood, right? Or is this a whole new type of blood?
It has to be Charles Lee Ray or some black guy from Chicago, dude. One of the two.
I think he's a black guy. I don't know. You know, the police are, like, willing to just go ahead and
fabricate evidence.
Fabricate incidents and stuff. So, you know, it could be that. I bet you.
It's either Charles Lee Ray or some random black guy. I mean, I don't see how anybody else is gonna, you know, talk us out of that one. Anyway, Christopher J, I want you to go ahead and give us your overall thoughts and rating on this bad boy, dude.
Oh, I'm gonna rate this one 9 out of 10. Because honestly, it's just if nothing else, like I can watch it now and give my, you know, over-intellectualized criticism of it. But honestly, the fact that I saw it in my youth, and the fact that I still remember to this day going to the dentist's office and thinking to myself, because she had like a little, you know, and y'all remember going to the dentist when they'd have to like put the air tube in you to suck out like the spit and whatever. And like thinking to myself, man, that reminds me of that little tube they put in Chucky's mouth and his head exploded. Thinking of that the very next day, being amazed at the fucking clouds converging over the factory and all that shit. Being amazed at, you know, this poor kid being in this terrible situation with these foster parents. Like one of the two parents didn't really like him, and teenage girl didn't really like him, and all of a sudden getting bullied at school, and the teacher didn't like him. Like, my God, that movie had such an impact on me at age, 11, 12, whatever the fuck. I'm going to rate it a 9. I don't care how intellectual I can get with the review of it or how it's literary or whatever. I'm going to give it a 9.
All right, Gabe.
Cool.
Your turn.
Well, same thing here. I can give all my intellectual thoughts on this, but I'm going to go ahead and give this a straight out 9.5. Part 1 was definitely by far like one of my favorite movies. If I'm trapped on an island with only certain movies that I can watch over and over, Child's Play Part 1 is definitely one of them. Part 2 is definitely a damn close second. It's really freaking awesome. I enjoyed the characters. I met the actor and the actress. Really awesome people. It just made me enjoy it more. I grew up with this damn movie. You know, yeah. 9.5, man. I'm sticking with it. That's a badass freaking movie.
Yeah.
I'm jealous that you've met these actors.
Huh?
I'm jealous you've met these fucking actors. I kind of want to meet them too now.
Oh, man. They're great people. You know, Alex Vincent had came down to San Antonio during this whole kind of COVID thing more recently. He was at a drive-thru. Like those drive-ins, and they were doing like a little meet and greet. But I had already met him prior to that. It was like about 2 or 3 years ago. He was doing Frightmare Weekend in Dallas. It's a horror convention, and they actually had the whole Chucky cast. Even Catherine Hicks, you know, the one who plays Andy's mom from Part 1, she was even there. You know, but I know her from Seventh Heaven, but I also know her from
Yeah.
I also know her
Man,
from
that's some
Child's Play.
WB shit right there, man.
Oh, I know. I like those WB TV shows, like The Flash and all them. They're so cheesy, but they're pretty fun to watch sometimes. They're pretty good. You ain't got nothing else to watch. Throw WB on. Why not? Get a good laugh. But yeah, that's where I met them from. They're really cool people. They're really nice. The more popular ones, like Brad Dourif, he's got a long line. You don't really get to chat with them, so I didn't really get to have any kind of conversation with them. But the other ones definitely made time for each person. They were just like, they were really cool, really neat people to talk with. So I was like, man, that they made you feel like you were like, you already knew it for a while. Oh yeah, why don't you come over to my booth and we'll talk about things? And I was like, oh man, that's neat. Oh, that's awesome, cool. So yeah, they're really neat. So. Yeah.
That's badass, man. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I love this film. I used to actually like this one more. I think I talked about it earlier, more than part one, but now part one is my favorite. So I give part one, like a 10 out of 10. But this one, yeah, it'd be like a 9 out of 10. It's a whole lot of fun. It's it's not as suspenseful as the first one. It's just fun. Like Terminator 1 and 2, Alien and Aliens, like whatever. Some people are going to like, one over the other because of those different reasons, and I can understand that. You got, Alien, that's suspenseful. Part 2, more fun. Terminator, suspenseful. Part 2, a lot more action. This one, a lot more action. But I've always kind of been a more suspense kind of guy over action for the most part. That's why I give part 1 the nod. But this one, yeah, it's awesome. I can always throw it on, like you said, dude. Like, I'd rather watch part 1 more, but I don't mind this one either at all. It's like, okay, it's Terminator 1 and 2, they're both really good. For me, I'd rather watch part 1 just because I like the music tone. I notice little things like the music cues here and there, like the same way with Chucky 1, like so badass. But yeah, I've been watching this one since I was a kid. It's like one of those films that I've watched, at least 50 times, which is kind of ridiculous, you know what I mean? As anybody watches any film, but I've watched it at least 50 times, along with like Freddy 4 and 5. Those films where I enjoyed them, I just always wanted to watch them, and they're fun. And I think for people, I think that's why I liked it more as a kid now than I do as an adult, is that when you're a kid, like for me, it's ridiculous now, but it's like I liked Freddy 4 and 5 more than any of the other Freddys because they were more fun and stupid. Now I'm like, man, I'm not gonna watch those at all. If just once every 2 or 3 years, and your taste kind of change. Like now, I always watch 1, 2, or 3, and that's it. And I'll watch like 4 and 5. With the Chucky films, this one still holds up, which is crazy. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, this one's really good compared to, I think what it is after you see like, Chucky 3, Brad of Chucky and shit like that, Seed of Chucky, Gabe's favorite. You're like, wow, dude, those first 2 Chucky movies, son of a bitch. I actually really like Curse of Chucky. I think that one's really good. I can't wait because Chris hasn't seen any of them past, I guess, what, Seed, Chris? What's the last one you watched?
Okay, part 3 was the last one I saw until you got to that 2017 Netflix one, which I watched the first half of, and I was like, fuck this.
Oh, that's the bunch of Chucky. Yeah, that's Colt, right? Yeah, no, I like Curse. Curse is really good. At least for me, but we'll see. Anyway.
It was just that, like, I didn't get what the point of the 2017 Netflix one was. It's like, okay, he's reduced to nothing but just a talking head with burn marks on him.
Chris. We'll get to it when we get to it. We can't let you off that easy, kid. Hey, since we're doing like short gimmicks, I think we should do like part 3 next, right? And then probably like Leprechaun 1 and 2 or something ridiculous to keep the the momentum going with not a consistent series. Because me and the guys we talked were like, we can't just do like I don't want to plow through the Child's Play series because like I like part 3 if I'm just watching part 3 and then like I'm done. I don't have to watch Bride of Chucky and then watch Seed of Chucky and then watch Curse. I don't think I would like Curse of Chucky as much as I'm saying I do now. After watching like a few other Chucky films prior to this, like week 4 at Chucky, like nah. So I think it's like, hey, it's good to do like a back-to-back one, and then say, hey, okay, let's go do something else really quick for maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, whatever we feel like. That's how we're breaking them up.
That sounds pretty good, actually. I love the whole Phantasm series, well, except for part 4. But I mean, man, we were doing them back to back, and that was a little bit long. So
it makes it drag.
I think you have. Yeah, I think you had the right idea. Do maybe 1 and 2, and then throw an oddball in there. Hey, we're gonna do Children of the Corn next, or or The Howling.
Candyman, Candyman, The Howling, because it like exactly like you had just said, like Phantasm. I love Phantasm, and I guarantee you, probably not. I would have liked part 4 a lot more, or even 5 a lot more, if I didn't watch. 2, 3, 4, and it's like, okay, I've watched, okay, if I would have watched part 2, and then say Puppet Master, and then Puppet Master 2, and then Leprechaun, and then oh, you know what? Damn, Phantasm 3 was pretty good. Like I would have liked it even more than I did. That and then 4, like take a break. But when you're doing you're running through them all, dude, you're like, okay, dude. I mean, like even Phantasm, Puppet Master, like. I like those films, but I am not going to go watch all 12 of those fucking films in a row. The fuck no goddamn way. Ain't no fucking way. So, yeah, I like breaking it up. We'll do 2, at the most 3 in a row. And I had told Gabe, I was like, when we did the Halloween, I was like, when we got to part 6, I was already mentally checked out. I was like, dude. And then I think me and Chris did H2O, and I think we were supposed to do Resurrection, but something had happened with the audio, so we didn't get to do H2O. So when you get to do the whole Halloween series, we'll do the same thing with this one. We'll talk about the first couple of films once we do Halloween H2O. But
yeah, let's definitely bring in Gabe for H2O. We did H2O, and then something fucked up with the files. So yeah, let's bring in Gabe for H2O, and we needed a break, so.
I bet you, I still laugh at it, but I'll bet you now, or whenever we do it again, when I go to H2O, I'll like it a lot better than watching Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then go to H2O. Okay, H2O sucks. I was all pissed by that point. So, anyways.
I guess we're going to all enjoy the conversation of LL Cool J and H2O, huh?
Well, reading those novellas and shit, whatever the fuck he's doing, right? And then he touched her voluptuous breast. Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Chris?
The most laid-back college gate security guard ever.
I know.
That is so great.
And then Ethan Zobel from Sons of Anarchy being the dean of the school.
Oh, that's right. He's a white supremacist guy, right? I was like, Zobel. Oh, yeah. Anyway. Hey, Chris, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Man, you gotta be shitting me. That mother's strong.